Einar stood motionless. He had seen death, on mining rigs, in frontier wars, in forgotten places where laws no longer reached, but this wasn't that. The woman seated in the middle of the ruined medical bay wasn't a corpse or a ghost. She looked, preserved. Waiting. You don't belong here, she said again, watching him with eyes that held too much history. He stepped forward, slow and deliberate. The floor beneath him creaked with age. I'm not here to take anything, he said, voice low. Just shelter. Maybe answers, if you've got any. Her head tilted. You're the first voice I've heard in 412 years. He stopped. Blinked. How long? She nodded slightly, as though the weight of time didn't matter anymore. Her voice had a shape to it, smooth but metallic at the edges, like it had been learned rather than born. You don't remember my name, do you? She asked. We've met before. A pause. Her gaze lingered on his scars, on the tiredness in his posture. No, she said. But you dream loud. He felt it then, a flicker in his mind. Not a voice, but an echo. Warmth. A memory that wasn't his. You're reading me? He asked, not angry. Just curious. She closed her eyes. I don't mean to. You're unguarded. Most people aren't. He approached until they were a few meters apart. No sudden movements. Not because he feared her, but because something about her felt fragile, like a story spoken aloud for the first time. What are you? He asked. She didn't flinch. They made me to end wars, she said. But I was built from pain. Silent, she called herself now. Not her first name, she said. Just the one she chose when the silence began. The old name was locked away, along with the ones who gave it to her. Einar stayed in the station longer than he intended. Days stretched on in red-lit corridors and hushed conversations. Silent didn't sleep, not in the way he did. She sat, thinking. Remembering. She never touched him. But she watched. He started speaking more than he had in years. About the asteroid he'd grown up on. The crush of mining suits. The burn on his face. Plasma flare, he said, tapping the thin line of scar tissue. Got caught saving a guy who left me the next day. Why did you save him? Because he was screaming. Silent turned that over in her mind like a child testing the edge of a new word. I didn't know anyone like you existed, she said quietly. He shrugged. There are plenty of guys who talk too much and drink too hard in deep space. She shook her head. Not like you. On the fifth night, he found her standing in what had once been a greenhouse, staring through the broken dome into the stars beyond. The plants had died long ago, but she stood there like she could still feel their roots in the floor. They said the galaxy would forget me, she murmured. They buried this station and sealed it off from all navigation records. Einar leaned beside her, shoulder against the cracked glass. Guess I'm good at finding what's meant to stay hidden. She turned to him, and this time she was close. The glow of the stars caught the edges of her face, softened the alien symmetry. You should be afraid of me, she whispered. He didn't step back. You should be afraid of me. I snore. And I'm terrible at small talk. A pause. Her smile was brief. Surprised. Maybe the first smile she'd made in centuries. I don't know what this is, she said, voice uncertain. This, stillness inside me when you're near. He swallowed. Yeah. Me neither. Later, when they shared the warmth of a heat lamp salvaged from the reactor core, she asked, if I went with you, what would you do? He stared at her, blinking. You'd come with me. You're the first person who hasn't run. Maybe I want to see what that feels like, out there. Einar didn't say anything at first. Just reached slowly into his coat, pulled out a protein bar. He held it out. Fair warning, he said. Tastes like gravel and regrets. She took it. Bit. Winced. Then laughed. Not a scientist's laugh. Not a weapon's. A woman's. That night, Einar didn't dream for the first time in years. And Silence sat beside his bunk in the dark, knees tucked to her chest, watching the slow rise and fall of his breath. There were questions she hadn't asked. Memories she hadn't shared. But for now, there was silence. And in it, a kind of peace neither of them had ever known. The quiet Ember left orbit in silence, its engines humming like the purr of a sleeping animal. The ancient station, the one where Einar had found her, drifted into history once again. Forgotten, except by them. Silence sat in the co-pilot's seat, legs tucked up under her. She watched the stars go by like they were old friends. Or maybe ghosts. You don't like warp speed, Einar said without looking at her. The folding, it makes things blur, she answered. Your thoughts, your emotions. I can't hold on to anything solid during jumps. Sorry, he said softly. She smiled faintly. No, don't be. It's like, learning how to breathe in water. Einar didn't reply. Not right away. He just reached over and flipped off the NAV lights, leaving only the glow from the stars outside to light the cabin. We'll stay sublight a little longer then, he said. For you. She looked at him then, really looked. And something shifted behind her eyes. Something almost human. They stopped at a drifting outpost called Vanta's Edge, a gray, rusting ring tethered to a dying moon. The kind of place that sold black market medkits and asked no questions. Einar traded for supplies. Silence stayed aboard the ship. I'm not ready, she said. To be seen. He understood. So he went alone. And for a while, that worked. His contact at Vanta's Edge was a technician named Lirak, short and stout with grease-stained teeth and hands that shook when he got too excited. You've got a stowaway, Lirak said after scanning Einar's cargo. Readings are weird. Like, multi-phase energy. Hybrid biosignature. Einar's pulse ticked up. You read wrong. Ship's empty but me. Sure, Lirak said slowly, eyes narrowing. Must be a ghost then. He tried to brush it off. Paid quickly. Left even quicker. But they were noticed. Hours later, as the quiet Ember left Vanta's Edge, Einar felt it. Not turbulence. Not engine trouble. A feeling. A presence just behind them. Unseen. He opened comms, routed them to open space. We're being followed, he said, not expecting an answer. But one came. A woman's voice. Clipped. Cold. Power down and prepare to be boarded. We're authorized by Galactic Council Order 12-993 Omega. Unidentified biological on board flagged as potential threat Class A. Einar looked at Silen. She was already gone from the seat. They didn't board. Because they couldn't. 3 patrol ships, armed and shielded, approached in tactical formation. The first began to slow, positioning to latch onto the quiet Ember's hull. And then. Nothing. No explosion. No impact. Just. Stillness. The patrol ship froze mid-flight, hull trembling. Then it crumpled inward like a crushed can, vanishing in a flash of collapsing matter. The second ship opened fire. Its beams vanished before they touched Einar's vessel. And then it too imploded. The third ran. Ran like a child from fire. Einar stared out the viewport. The stars returned to stillness. The chase was over. Silen stood behind him now. Not breathing hard. Not trembling. But her eyes. Her eyes were wide with fear. I didn't mean to, she said. I didn't want them to die. I just wanted them to stop. Einar stood. Walked to her. And for the first time, he reached out, his fingers brushing hers, warm against skin engineered in a lab and shaped by centuries of solitude. You didn't lose control, he said. She shook her head. But I could have. And you didn't. I don't want to hurt anyone. Then you won't. They drifted for a day in quiet. Neither spoke. But their thoughts overlapped like tides. Not telepathy. Not exactly. More like presence. Like gravity. And for Einar, it felt less like fear and more like falling. At a small refueling moon near Calthus Point, they stopped again. This time, Silent came with him. She wore a hood. Einar adjusted his pace to match hers. They didn't touch. But he was aware of her in every moment, every breath. Are they watching us? She asked as they passed a vendor selling fried seaweed and cooling fans. Maybe, Einar said. But they don't know what they're seeing. Good. They reached the ship again without incident. But back inside, she turned and stopped him. I felt your fear when the ships attacked, she said. He nodded. Yeah. Was it, me? He looked at her. And didn't lie. A little. Thank you, she said. For what? For not pretending. They didn't speak of love. Not yet. But silence wrapped around them like a promise. That night, as he slept, she sat beside his bunk and whispered to the stars outside the window. I don't want to be a weapon anymore, she said. And the stars listened. The planet was called Caldrus, a border world marked by rocky spines and half-frozen oceans, orbiting a pale blue sun. Einar chose it because no one else would. No traffic lanes. No political zones. Just wind and stone and cold. He wanted to keep her safe. But danger, like gravity, finds its way. They lived in the belly of the quiet ember, parked inside a cave whose entrance collapsed behind them after entry. Intentionally. They lived off water filtered from underground springs. Food grew slow under artificial lights. They had a garden of 2 plants. Silent named them. This one is Taya, she said, pointing to the stubby sprout in the corner. The other is More. Einar laughed. You named weeds? They're survivors, she replied. Like us. He didn't argue. The nights were cold. Not from the weather, though the world was frigid, but from memory. Silent would sit near the emergency heater, legs tucked under her, gazing into nothing. I used to dream of being useful, she told him once. I was created to protect a planet called Viros. I held its sky together during bombardment. Kept their atmosphere intact for 3 days. What happened? They handed me over to the ones who built me. Said my kind didn't belong among theirs. That I was, too much. Einar didn't speak. He just sat next to her, close enough for her to lean against him if she wanted to. She did. Slowly. Their first kiss wasn't perfect. He tasted of old air and protein bars. Her lips were too still, as if waiting for permission. But when she kissed back, it was with a kind of reverence, like someone discovering a sacred word for the first time and not wanting to mispronounce it. A week later, ships came. They heard the buzz first, a thrum through the rock, just barely perceptible. The kind of sound that wasn't mechanical but purposeful. They emerged from the cave and saw them, 2 vessels descending from orbit. Sleek. Polished. Weapons active. Einar's blood ran cold. You found us, he whispered. Not me, Silent said. Someone followed your trades on Calthus Point. Or maybe Vanta's Edge. They'll try to take you. Her eyes darkened. They'll try. The first team landed outside their cave. 10 soldiers. Helmets with internal oxygen. Insignias faded from a dozen regimes. Mercenaries. Not government. Just hired teeth. We don't want trouble, one of them called out through a speaker. We're only here for the tech package registered to Salvager Einar Halleck. You mean her, Einar muttered, drawing his old pulse revolver. Don't, Silent said, placing a hand on his wrist. They'll kill us. No, they'll run. He stared at her. Are you sure? She stepped forward, away from the cave's mouth. The soldiers raised their weapons. But they didn't fire. They couldn't. The air around Silent changed. Not visibly, but like a current turning beneath calm water. Her hair lifted slightly in the breeze. Her skin shimmered faintly, silver and violet. Leave, she said. Her voice wasn't loud. But it echoed. Inside the mind. Inside the bones. One soldier dropped his weapon. Another screamed. One fired, and the bullet hung in the air, frozen, spinning slowly like it had forgotten gravity existed. They ran. All of them. Afterward, Einar found her sitting on a rock overlooking the icy cliff edge. She didn't look triumphant. She looked tired. They'll keep coming, she said. Others. Governments. Cartels. Warlords. Some will want to use me. Others will want to destroy me. Einar sat beside her. We can run. I've hidden before. She shook her head. No, not this time. What then? She looked at him. And for the first time, he saw it in her eyes. Resolve. We go where people can see us, she said. We stop hiding. We let the galaxy see what I really am. And what's that? Not a weapon. He reached for her hand. Held it. Their fingers fit together without force. You're not alone, he said. I know, she whispered. And that's what scares them. That night, they lay under a starscape visible through the cracks in the cave's ceiling. She curled beside him, head on his shoulder, one hand pressed gently against his heartbeat. It's loud, she murmured. Your heart. Too much caffeine. She smiled. No, it's beautiful. By morning, she had changed. Not her body. Her presence. There was a calm to her now. A certainty. She stood outside their ship, looking up at the sky where her kind had once fallen like comets, ending worlds. They made me to end everything, she said. You don't have to be what they made you. I'm not. Not anymore. Their next destination wasn't hidden. It was a place called Mirren's Passage, a political hub in neutral territory, full of diplomats and traders and off-world scholars. They were going to show her to the galaxy. Not as a threat. Not as a weapon. As someone who chose love over war. But nothing about that choice would be easy. And love, like gravity, was only the beginning of what she was capable of. The docking arm clicked into place with a hiss and metallic groan. Mirren's Passage was older than most central hubs, built from interlinked rings rotating independently in low gravity. Einar had docked here before, years ago, before Silent. Before he'd learned what loneliness really meant. Now he returned with her at his side. And nothing would be the same. The crowd in the arrival corridor parted without meaning to. Silent didn't wear armor or robes or anything commanding attention. But her stillness made people step back. Like a storm standing upright. A diplomat in red silk stumbled over his words when asking for identification. Einar answered for them, gently but firmly. This is Silent. The name echoed across scanners, networks, whispered channels. Within 20 minutes, half the station was in lockdown. They were invited, not ordered, to attend a council hearing in the Chamber of Unity. A hall built for peace negotiations and high-level disputes. Walls of light shifted with emotion-sensitive refractors. Curved glass seats for each system's representative. Einar sat beside her at the center dais, surrounded by 30 voices and too many eyes. You bring her here, said Representative 80 from the Perseid cluster, and expect us to do what? Treat her like a refugee. She's not a refugee, Einar said. She's not a prisoner. She's a person. She is a weapon, countered someone from the Outer Rim Alliance. One who destroyed 5 warships in orbit. Alone. They attacked first, Silent said softly. The room went silent. It was the first time she spoke. And her voice wasn't threatening. It was quiet. Controlled. It carried. Representative Orlan, old and sharp-eyed, leaned forward. What do you want, Silent? She looked around the hall. Her gaze passed over species she'd only seen in ancient records. Beings with feathers, with gills, with skin like obsidian. A home, she said. And the right not to be hunted. The chamber murmured. A few nodded. More scowled. Outside, reporters had begun gathering. Holocaptures of Silent's face beamed across systems. Her hands. Her posture. Her stillness. They called her the Seraph of Silence. They called Einar her handler. Her lover. Her fool. He didn't care. He only cared that her shoulders were tense when she read the news. That she sat alone more often now, staring out into space like it could judge her. They're afraid of me, she said that night. They stayed in a station guest suite, sterile, white, barely furnished. They're afraid of what they don't understand, he replied, brushing her hand with his thumb. You're not. I don't understand everything. But I believe in you. She closed her eyes. Leaned her head on his chest. Her voice was barely a whisper. Sometimes, I don't. They arrested Einar 2 days later. Charges were vague. Aiding a known threat to galactic peace. Unlicensed transport of bioweapon intelligence. Failure to report contact with non-civilian sentience. They didn't even read his rights. Silent wasn't there when it happened. She'd gone to speak with a private ethics committee, at their request. Alone. Trusting. But she felt at the moment the energy cuffs locked around his wrists. Her breath caught. And the world changed. Einar was held in an energy cell beneath the central chamber. No light. No warmth. Just humming field generators and a stale mattress. He waited. And wondered if this was it. Silent arrived 37 minutes later. Not with fire. Not with destruction. But with precision. Every light in the holding sector dimmed. Every system flickered. And then. She was there. No alarms. No doors forced. She simply appeared in front of his cell. You're not safe, she said. I'm okay. They lied to me. He stood. Then let's go. She hesitated. They'll never stop. Then we don't stop either. As they escaped, a young officer, barely more than a boy, blocked their path with a trembling stun rifle. Don't, Einar began. But Silent walked forward. Slow. Open palms. I don't want to hurt you, she said. He fired. The stun bolt passed through her like water through mist. The officer fell to his knees, choking on his own heartbeat. Silent knelt beside him. Touched his chest. He gasped. Breathed. The trembling stopped. You're not like them, she whispered. And he stared at her with wide eyes. Like a pilgrim seeing light. They made it to the ship. But news spread. She was now a fugitive in full. Not just feared. Hunted. Every major power had declared her a destabilizing threat. But amid the panic, small voices rose too. Civilian groups. Scholars. Exiled healers. They called her something else. The quiet one. The redeemed. Hope. As the quiet ember jumped to an unknown sector, Einar looked at her across the cabin. She was staring into her hands. Like they belonged to someone else. You saved him, he said. She didn't reply. That boy. You brought him back. No one saw that but me. They'll twist it, she murmured. Say I manipulated him. Say I rewrote him. I know the truth, he said. What if I become what they fear? He crossed the space between them. Took her hands. Then I'll remind you who you are. Silence fell between them again. But this time, it wasn't empty. It was steady. Earned. And full of stars.